pediatrics is very, very different from adult medicine. That's, probably the first thing that a pediatrics resident kind of learns on day one, is that kids are not just tiny adults. The diseases that hits kids is very different. The way it's managed is very, very different. The way we track these diseases and monitor for these diseases is very different. And so a lot of times, if you're having an adult provider review these cases, it looks very, very different from how they would do it themselves. So that's why, for starters, I would strongly recommend getting a pediatrician to review pediatric cases. Now, as for what we do, and why I think we set ourselves apart from just about every other reviewer out there, it's because we'll take the time, we'll review this, and we will make sure that you understand everything about the case from front to back. And we'll make sure that with the level of thoroughness and depth that we review it, that it is all conveyed, and you understand it all at the end. And when you do, I find that attorneys generally are able to do two things better. One, they're better able to make informed decisions about whether or not they want to proceed and continue to pursue the case, or if they decide to drop the case, they can feel much more assured that it was the correct decision for them. If they do decide to pursue the case, they are much more informed about where are some potential pitfalls, because we do also do an analysis as to what are some likely defense positions that the defendants might decide to take, and we can, to a reasonable degree, even start predicting what are some decent legal battle lines that are going to be drawn with regards to these cases. So that's kind of part one. Part two, with regards to pediatric cases, I have found that a lot of times families are much more interested in figuring out what happened versus how do I win a case. And when it comes to, a parent who has lost their child, the desire for answers is almost universal in every single one of the cases that I review. And so what I want to do and what I want to make sure is that, I was a teacher before I was even a doctor. The human element sometimes gets lost in all of this. And how I want to make sure, when I review these cases, is we bring that human element back into everything. It's why I decided to leave clinical medicine, is because the human element was starting to become a little bit lacking, in my opinion. And I want to make sure that whatever way possible, we at least do provide answers, and we at least try our best to figure out what happened, and to empower whoever is working with the families to provide a sense of closure and a sense of proceeding forward and figuring and bringing all of this to a close, whether it's through litigation or just answering the question, why did my child die? Our website is available. We'll try our best to work with anybody and everybody, particularly for pediatric cases. I'm someone that regularly just says, hey, look, I just want to make sure that we get to the bottom of things. I'm not somebody that places an overly high emphasis on things like, how do we make sure that, the cases are compact enough so that it's tidily reviewed. Get me whatever you have. We'll find a way to make it work. If you ever want to speak and bring me in on a consultation, be more than happy to work with you guys. At the end of the day, my only goal is to make sure that we get these cases reviewed accurately and correctly, and to make things right whenever we can. My email address is my first name, James, @expertinstitute.com. And, feel free to reach out if you guys have any pediatric cases or any pediatric questions.